I think it's interesting that in Luke 12, Jesus says, watch out for all kinds of greed. Because he never uses that term, all kinds, about any other sins. There's no point at which he says, watch out for all kinds of adultery. Because here's the deal. You kind of know when you're doing that. It's hard to subconsciously commit adultery. Nobody's ever like, oops, you're not my wife. This is weird. It doesn't work like that. But greed is different. We don't always recognize it in our hearts, which makes it difficult to identify and admit. Like, we live in a world where we're confessed to anger issues and even lust and addiction and pride, but being ruled by money? Oh, no way, not me. I'm just super stressed out about it all the time, but I'm not like controlled by it, all right? Money has the power to blind us to its own power. And that's why God talks about it so much. He desperately doesn't want us to be robbed of the lives, the peace, and the beauty we were created for. So he invites us, for the sake of our futures, to this irrational, illogical form of obedience when it comes to our money called tithing. Because God says tithing is the solution to our tension with finances. And the crazy thing is, he makes it clear, tithing isn't even about money. It's about trust. It's about purposefully orienting your heart toward trusting God enough to put him on the throne of your life. And it's really simple. In the end, it's just returning 10% to God because it belongs to him and it's not ours to keep. See, we got to understand something. Everything we have, every single thing comes from God and belongs to God. Psalm 24 doesn't say the earth is the Lord's and some of the stuff in it. It says the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. And I know for us, in our culture, that's kind of jarring because something wants to say, hey, wait up. I worked hard for what I have. I earned everything that belongs to me. It's my car, it's my house, it's my smartphone, and you did work for it, right? But you worked with talents and abilities gifted to you by God, with breath in your nostrils and a heartbeat in your chest that God sustains, in a time and place where your work could get you that stuff. Like if God had created you and you'd been born on a mountain in Mongolia 1,000 years ago, I don't care how intrinsically motivated you are or how hard you work, you would not have your truck or your Tesla or your phone. You might have a real sturdy pony though. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. But like if the idea that your stuff belongs to God is still grating, and for some of us, for all of us on some level it is, let's get philosophical with it for a second. If there is a God who created and sustains everything, then everything is ultimately his. And if there's not a God who created and sustains everything, it's still not yours. It's just temporarily yours until someone stronger than you takes it. That's why we band together in community and create what Locke, Rousseau, and Hobbes called a social contract. We give up property in the form of taxes so the whole society can protect the rest of our property from bigger, stronger people stealing it. And hopefully from bigger, stronger societies conquering us and stealing it. As Hobbes said, life is nasty, brutish, and short. And speaking of that, either way, no matter who you think owns your stuff, somebody else will own it soon. The Bible says, naked you were born, naked you'll die, everything else stays. And that may be a distressing reality, but it's reality. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, which means every single thing that's been placed in your hands is a gift from a giver who loves you and wants to provide for you. A giver who desperately needs you to know in the middle of this shattered universe that you can trust him and him alone. That's a hard thing to do, though. It is for me. And I think it is for all of us because we live in a world that's sold out to trusting our money and trusting our stuff. Consumerism and materialism are the nature of the game these days. And our society puts its hope in markets and in our 401ks. But it's not working. At least not the way we want it to. We're the wealthiest society in the history of the world and also the most anxious society in the history of the world about money. Why? Well, Soren Kierkegaard explained it like this. Riches and abundance come hypocritically clad in sheep's clothing, pretending to be security against anxieties, and they then become the object of anxiety. They secure a man against anxieties just about as well as a wolf that is put to tending the sheep. I mean, that's powerful. Or, you know, if 19th century Danish existentialists aren't really your thing, a notorious 20th century philosopher from New York City put it this way: mo money, mo problems. R.I.P. Biggie, but he was right. And God gives us the exact antidote to those problems. He wants to bless us with the 90%, but he knows for that stuff that he's placed in our hands to give us life rather than rob life from us, for it to help us step into our creative purpose rather than crush us, we got to give back the first 10% to remind ourselves to trust. That's what he told the nation of Israel in Malachi. We talked about it on Sunday. God looked at this nation who wasn't giving anymore, and he said, you are robbing me by hanging on to what I've asked you to give. It's not yours, and you're keeping and spending it, and so your nation is living under a curse. And we got to understand something about this curse. This isn't God saying, like, I'm angry with you because you didn't check the right boxes, you didn't jump through the right religious hoops. This is God saying you're cursed because your hearts have drifted. Your security has drifted. Your worship has drifted from your Creator to your cash, and it's killing you. I think sometimes it's hard for us to see beyond the financial realities of this whole thing, the dollar and cents accounting and spreadsheets. But if that's all we think about whenever we hear tithing or giving, like, no wonder money is such an uncomfortable subject in church. Because the inevitable conclusion is that this is just yet another ritual we gotta partake in, another rule that we have to follow, another box that we gotta check in order to keep God happy somehow, or it's just something the pastor wants from us. But God's purpose in this is entirely different. He's looking through this grand cosmic lens that has nothing to do with the amount in our bank account that indicates our wealth, and everything to do with the throne of our hearts that determines our health. This is about health, not wealth. And when it comes to our souls, there's something way bigger than the number of zeros on our financial statement at play. Our peace and our purpose, our hope and our happiness, our faith and our future are on the line. And that's what God is getting at in the book of Malachi when he looks at his people and he says, hey, you're living under a curse because your worship has drifted, but here's what I want you to do. Bring the whole tithe into my storehouse that there may be food in my house. See, in the ancient Near Eastern world, every temple for every different god had a storehouse. And sometimes in the Old Testament, it was also called the treasury. And it's where they stored grain and goods and gold and anything else people brought in. And then they used it to provide whatever was needed to appropriately worship the deity. So there's a direct tie between the storehouse and worship. And when God says bring the whole tithe, not part of it, what he's saying is whatever part of it isn't in my treasury is in the treasury of a different temple. Or whatever part you owe me and you didn't bring me is serving a different God. Whatever part's not being used to worship me is absolutely being used to worship something else. And the implication here is simple. If you find it difficult to give to God, but easy to spend money on clothes and cars and your house and tickets and tech, or even if right now you're going, I don't spend on any of that stuff. I'm frugal. I put it all in investments. Like whatever it is that you're spending money on, you name it. If you struggle to give but don't struggle to put funds somewhere else, then something other than God has captured your worship. And the problem is God has no interest in sharing the throne of your heart. You guys, Jesus said where your treasure is, your heart is. And if our hearts and our treasure have been given to something other than him, it robs us of peace and life and contentment and meaning and purpose. And so here's my challenge as we continue this Ancient Paths series. I dare all of us to try walking this ancient path of generosity, of tithes and offerings, of opening our hands, giving God back the first 10%, plus whatever else he tugs at our hearts for, just to see what he'll do in us as we do it. I dare all of us to give it 90 days. Take this 90-day challenge and watch how God grows our faith and our peace in the midst of it, because he invites us to test him and he promises us that's exactly what he'll do.